can parents do about the screendemic? Well, we're going to talk through a few practical suggestions for parents at home, at school, how you can delay smartphones, and how you can make your voice heard. The most important thing to remember is that parents' actions are absolutely key to good digital practice. Your children spend 80% of their time out of school. So what we do makes the difference. And research has shown that media parenting practices are absolutely the key driver in early adolescent screen use. So parental screen use, family mealtime screen use, bedtime screen use, all have an impact. And all of these things and parental monitoring and restrictions lead to less problems online with children. So health professionals for safer screens have done a lot of work with academics and done a lot of work looking at the guidelines globally, because there are no guidelines in the UK. And coming to that, we are recommending that for under 2 years old, there really should be absolutely no screen time at all. Occasional video chatting with family who aren't around, but no general screen time. From 2 to 5, we're recommending no more than 30 minutes and try to ensure as much screen time, free time together as possible. Between 6 and 10, no more than 1 to 2 hours during the week and up to 2 hours at the weekends. And for 11 to 17-year-olds, up to 2 hours during the week and 2 to 3 hours at the weekend. And actually, this really should include school time as well, because we know the impacts of too much screen time in the whole. We know this is challenging, and we're going to give you some thoughts about how to manage some of this. Creating a family digital plan is probably the most impactful you think you can do as a family. And there's been loads of research studies that have shown this and shown that this impacts. We've created quite a few of these, and you can find these on our website. This one, for example, is the digital plan for a primary school child. And this would consist of you and your children and anyone who cares for your children sitting down together and talking about what you like about devices, what you don't like, what would you do differently, what they want the adults to do differently, and thinking about places that could be screen-free and how you can manage this. And the evidence shows it really does work when you as a family talk about it and think about it and meaningfully decide how to manage your screen time. Other things that are really important: make time together without phones or screens present. So really think about being present with your children. Bedtime story is absolutely the best way to settle your child. And keep screens away from bedtimes, at least 2 hours for preschool and an hour for the over 5s. That includes teenagers and adults as well. And Dr. Jennifer Lee is going to tell you a little bit about why bedtime stories are so good.
Hi, my name's Jennifer. I'm an emergency medicine consultant in the NHS and a busy mum of 2. With 52% of preschoolers habitually using some form of media before bed, I'm here to share with you the magic of a bedtime story. We love to snuggle down and switch off from the chaos of the day, away from the pressures of screen time and technology. And in that moment, instead, we try and create some calm and quiet time, resulting often in a better night's sleep for everybody.
Which I think we all want, particularly with young children. We would also say, if there's one thing you as a family do, is do not let any screens in the bedrooms overnight. And make nights and mornings screen-free. The really best advice would be to have a screen time using, say, Apple Screen Time or something as simple as that, where it's set to turn off at a certain time and come on at a certain time. And that time should probably be after you've all had breakfast and you're ready to go out into the day, and at least an hour before bedtime. And absolutely no screens. That includes laptops, that includes TVs, that includes tablets, that includes phones in the bedroom overnight. And this links into all the things we were talking about, sleep and notifications, but also the enormous risk of what your child will see or do in the middle of the night. We may think they're asleep, but they're really not. And buy an alarm clock for your older child. Encourage physical activity in your child. 6 to 10 years old should be 1 to 2 hours a day, and 11 to 17s at least an hour. And the more they can be outside, the better for their eyesight. Avoid using a device to settle your child down. evidence shows that it makes their anger worse in the long term. So try a book, distraction, a game, or just simply a cuddle. Avoid using screen time either as a reward or a punishment. It should just be something that's there. Encourage children to socialise in real life. And if your child has to use a screen, make it big, keep them in a public place, and really think about their posture and where they are and what they're sitting on. Turn off auto-scrolling. Ensure you have protection settings on your Wi-Fi and data provider, but don't think they're infallible, and ask for any passwords so that you could go in and look if there were problems. Obviously, this slightly depends on the age of your child. After bedtime is the other thing we would say, makes mealtime screen-free. And this is included for adults. It's really important for social development and learning to speak and chat, but also in understanding food and satiety and really getting to grips with managing obesity long-term. And think about your phone behaviour. How we behave on a phone and how we behave around screens is really reflected with our children. They mimic our parents. So let's put our phones away at meal times or when we're playing games or when we're going out. Maybe as a family, you have a place where you come into the house and you put phones away. And that's what you do, what children will follow. So at school, if you're looking at new schools or you're in your school, ask what their phone policy is. Is it really a ban? Lots of schools say they have a ban. Only 13% have a real ban, and a ban is only really going to work if your child's phone is taken away in the morning and not given back to the end of the day. All the evidence shows that that is what makes a difference. How do they enforce it? And ask them how they communicate with the children. Because we know of schools that WhatsApp their children. They tell these children they need to be online until 11 o'clock at night and first thing in the morning to see if there are any changes to what they need to bring in. And therefore, we're teaching our children that they need to be constantly thinking about notifications, constantly engaged. And this really isn't healthy for them. Ask your school to limit your child's amount of homework online, because the more they have online, the harder it is going to be for you to manage screen time and manage their ability to manage their own screen time. Delay smartphones and social media for as long as you possibly can with your children. We know this is really difficult. It's very, very hard for your child to be the only one without a smartphone, because it's like saying they can't go in the playground. And it's a collective action problem. So encourage other parents to sign a pact to agree to delay smartphones and social media. Delay smartphones and smartphone-free childhood both have really useful tools on their website that you can use. You could then ask your school to organise and publicise your pact. And how about finding like-minded parents to organise phone-free activities for your children so they don't feel left out? Letgrow.org has some great resources. If your child really needs a phone, give them a non-internet enabled phone which allows you to have easier controls. For example, the new HMD Fusion Explorer has things like harm block, which means you can't sext. And it allows you as a parent much better controls over what's going on. It's not infallible, but it's a step in the right direction. And make your voice heard. It really does make a difference. MPs are starting to hear and they're starting to notice there are more and more and more debates, but the government really isn't following this. So write to your MP, because they are listening to it, and most of them have young children and they really want something to happen. Follow a group lobbying for change, for example, someone like safescreens.org, you can find them online. And ask manufacturers, why aren't they producing safe by design phones for our children? And if you're worried about your or a child's screen uses, please come to our website, healthprofessionalsforsaferscreens.org. We've got tools there to help you understand your usage and tips and advice on how to manage it. And I'm going to leave the last word to Minister Chris Bryant. And so Chris, interestingly, was responding to a bill that had been asking for a lot of things, and the government had rejected it. But he sounds like he's pretty convinced that action needs to happen.
And I just end with the words I thought from my honourable friend for Kensington and Bayswater. The words of the paediatrician that he referred to are ringing in my mind. There is no option of inaction for this house or for this country. There has to be.
As our paediatrician told her MP, there has to be action and things have to happen. And we're calling on the government to make those changes. But until that happens, we as parents have to do this at home, working with our schools and with our friends and our children to keep them safe. Thank you.